on in. Let's get baking.
Welcome to my kitchen. We are making a blueberry and black raspberry galette, and if you've never made a galette before, it's simply a rustic free-form version of pie. A galette is a great place to start. So let's get started with the crust. For the galette crust, we're adding 2.5 cups all-purpose flour, a tablespoon of sugar, and a teaspoon of salt, 2 sticks of very cold butter cut up into small cubes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my hands to break up the butter just so it's a little bit dispersed into the flour. And you do want to work somewhat quickly here because you don't want the butter melting. You do want the butter to stay cold. Once the cubes of butter have been dispersed into the flour, like so, I'm going to take my pastry blender and I'm going to turn the bowl and press the butter into the flour. And this takes a minute. Occasionally you have to stop, get any kind of butter that's accumulated off the pastry blender. You're going to do this until the butter resembles the size of peas. Okay, so at this point, the butter is the size you want it, and then the next step is to add 1/2 cup of cold water. I'm going to add this in increments, so I'm going to add 1/2. Just want to mix lightly here, and once that's mostly incorporated, then you're going to add the remaining. And just stir it until it starts to come together. There will be some drier pieces still remaining at the bottom of the bowl, and that's totally fine. So onto a clean surface, you're going to dump your shaggy mess of a dough. All you do is you take your hand and you kind of squeeze the dough together until a nice clump forms like that. Set that aside and do the rest with the remaining dough. So now we have a somewhat cohesive piece of pie dough. So this amount of pie dough actually makes 2 galettes. I put 1 piece of dough in the freezer for later use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the dough in half. You don't have to be super precise about it. All you're going to do next is wrap it in a piece of plastic wrap, pressing it down, and you want it to maintain somewhat of a circular shape. I do like to use a rolling pin at this point and just gently roll it out. You're not going for any kind of thickness here. You just want things to kind of stick together and be somewhat circular. And now it is ready for the fridge. While the crust is chilling, and it must chill for an hour, don't skimp on the chilling, I'm going to make the filling. So I have 3 cups of mixed berries in here. I have blueberries and black raspberries. You could use any fruit you have. I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, a 1/4 cup of sugar, a couple pinches of cinnamon, a tiny pinch of salt, and the juice of 1/2 lemon. All you're doing here is just making sure that the sugar and the lemon juice have kind of melded together and coated the berries really well. And once it starts to get kind of sticky like that, okay, so the filling's done. The dough has chilled for an hour, so I'm going to unwrap it. You do need to move fairly quickly just because it will soften. I have a little bit of flour down on my surface. I'm going to just put a little bit on top and on the bottom, and then you're going to take a rolling pin, and as you're rotating the dough, make sure that it's not sticking to the countertop. And the beauty of a galette is if you start to get tiny cracks on the edges of the dough, it really doesn't matter like it would if you were making a regular size pie. And don't worry about maintaining a perfect circular shape. That's about a 12-inch circle if I had to guess. I fold it into quarters, grab my parchment-lined baking tray, simply unfold the dough, and then we're going to add our filling. You're just putting the fruit right in the center. You do want to leave about a 1-inch barrier around the side of the crust, so just gently spread it around, but don't go quite to the edge. And then the final step is to just gently fold up the dough and press it down like that, and then another few inches or so, fold it up, press that crease down, and just keep working your way around. Just make sure that all of the creases are pressed down like that. Last thing is you're going to brush it with a little beaten egg yolk with a little bit of water, and this just gives the crust a really nice golden sheen when it comes out of the oven after baking, and it also gives the sugar that we're about to sprinkle on top something to stick to. Take a little pinch of raw sugar and sprinkle it around the edge of the crust. This adds a nice crunch, and again, it gives it like a little bit of a sparkle once it comes out of the oven, which is really pretty. This is the level of goldenness that you're looking for in the crust. It means it's going to be nice and crispy. The fruit was really bubbly when I took it out of the oven, which indicates that the fruit is done, so she is ready. When I'm having a picnic, I really enjoy eating off of real plates and using real silverware. I love these warm earth tone plates from Anthropologie, and it's so much less wasteful than using plastic for a picnic. It's so good. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this recipe and that everybody has a beautiful summer.